Hey guys, thanks for stopping by again. Today on the shelf we've got the EMAX BabyHawk. Now this is a tiny little 85mm quad. It's nice, it's quite durable. It feels like it's going to be good for whipping around the house because this takes 2S, so it's not going to be too powerful. But the VTX on here is 200 milliwatts, so if you do want to go outside and blast it about, this is definitely going to have the range to do it. Anyway, let's put it down and take a look at it in more detail. Okay, so here it is in all its glory. Now with this in the box we do get a spare set of propellers and a spare set of bolts for those, and also a little bit of a instruction manual, one side which is in Chinese and the other in English. Now this has been advertised for some reason as only 25 milliwatts on most of the websites I've seen it as. However, if we take a look at the product specifications, we can see that it is actually 25 and 200 milliwatt switchable, so that is quite good. And of course you'll see we've got the full 40 channels on there as well, which is quite nice. So anyway, let's take a quick look at it itself. You'll notice straight away that this isn't actually carbon fiber. This is entirely made out of plastic, which is a bit of a bold move. You know, I've not seen many quads. I guess on this size it's a bit more understandable that it's sort of plastic and not as durable, but I would have liked to maybe at least seen the base plate be carbon fiber, because this is going to be saving a little bit of weight, but it's also going to be negating a bit of the durability of this. But I guess we'll have to see how it holds out just being entirely plastic. The one thing I am worried about is these two little standoff here for the camera mount. I'm worried that if we do have a hard crash on the camera, these could actually just snap straight off because they're not carbon fiber, they're just plastic. So we'll have to see how durable this plastic is. But it does look nice, sort of looks like if Apple designed a drone, this is what I think it would be like. And yeah, it does look very compact. There's a lot of hidden wires and stuff in there, so nothing's overspilling, and it looks nice and tucked away. So let's go quickly over the specs. The motors, these are EMAX motors, as EMAX are quite well known for the red bottom motors. These are simply 5,000 kV brushless motors with a 2.3-inch propeller on there. So if we take a closer look at the propeller, you'll be able to see that it is actually manufactured by EMAX. This has got the EMAX branding on it, and I don't think with the white balance I'm going to be able to... There you go, you can just see it is... Can you just see about that? That's 2345 on there, and it's got the EMAX brand on that bit there as well. So yeah, we've got a spare set of these, which is quite nice because I recently did the XJB80 and we didn't have a spare set on there. And they've decided to go for tri-blades, which is always a solid option. So hopefully, knowing EMAX and knowing how well they know their motors, this should be quite a good quad and give us quite a good bit of thrust. To go with that motor, we've got it powering a 2S battery. Now, this doesn't come with a 2S battery, but I've just got a little 500 milliamp hour one, which might be a little bit too heavy. I'd be tempted to go for somewhere between 3 and 450 milliamp hours on this, because it doesn't feel like the most heaviest of quad. I think it can produce about 500 grams of thrust with these motors and propellers. But yeah, I wouldn't suggest using a 3-cell on this, although you probably can. I might try it out with the HLG Tech 3-cell I got last week and see what happens, although I don't think you'd get with the ESCs we've got and everything, the setup, I don't think you get that much more power out of a 3-cell. You might just risk burning something out. So anyway, talking about burning things out, the ESCs you might be able to see are actually in here. These are individual ESCs, which is a nice touch for something this small. It means we can replace them if one of them does burn out, because obviously with things like the XJB80 that I just reviewed that have the all-in-one ESCs, there's the problem that if one of the ESCs breaks, you can no longer use the entire board. So having individual ESCs is a nice job, and these are BL Heli S 6 amp bullet plug-in ESCs, so these can plug just straight in if you buy them, but they are only 6 amp, which, as I said, limits it to 2S really, and is a bit of a drawback. You know, I've just done the 25 amp XJB80, which I keep going on about because I can't believe how insane it was, so everything I'm gonna review now is going to be compared to that. But yeah, I would have liked to see maybe a 10 or 15 amp ESC on this, especially knowing EMAX and how much they like their motors and power from them. It would have been nice to see a bit of a more higher rated ESC, but maybe that might come in version 2 if there's going to be one. So taking a closer look at the alleged stack, there's not really much of a stack in there. You'll notice that we've got the little FC in here. This is actually, you'll be able to see it wobbles quite a bit because this is simply just taped down, I think, with a little bit of hot glue or just sticky tape onto the base plate of this. And this is an F3 tiny miniature flight controller. This is called a Fempto, I believe. Obviously meaning incredibly small, and you'll see we've got the USB attachment on the back there so that we can plug it into Betaflight and set this up. Now this comes as plug and play. This is the version I've got, and you'll see I've put the little AC800 FR Sky receiver on here. Now it's very easy to do a bad job of soldering these. I would probably go online and look at some tutorials for how to solder onto these properly. I've just done a very quick and very bad solder onto here so that I could just get it up and get it tested. I'll probably come back at some point and resolder this. I think it would be easiest if you took this entire camera mount off and just exposed completely the board and then went ahead and soldered that with a lot more space. That would be quite a lot easier because I just stupidly left the top of the camera bit on and just tried to have a job at soldering it. You'll notice that if you don't take it apart, you can't really tell what these are. It's not labelled which one is which. So we have the source, the 5-volt, and the ground. Contradictory to the colour of my wires, I've got red, black, and yellow sort of going in the opposite direction, just because of the way I had this wired up on there. So there's a quick helpful tip. Source, 5-volt, ground for that, because it doesn't show you straight on there. But I guess if you've got a sort of a little balance plug cable that you can plug in here, then you'll be able to just plug that straight on the top. That would probably be a lot easier than trying to solder directly onto these pins. So looking at the camera on the top, we've got this little whip antenna on here, which is good because we always have the problems with the sort of shaft antennas that can just get snapped, but this feels very durable. This isn't going to take any sort of snapping or anything if we have a crash, so that should be quite good. This is a 600 TVL camera, I believe, so hopefully it's going to give us a nice bit of display. Hopefully the brightness and contrast ratios and colour should be good on this. But I have seen quite better cameras than this. But I guess it's alright and kind of to be expected on a quad this size. You'll notice it's got quite a bit of a tilt. So I'm anticipating that this thing is going to be able to travel quite fast and reach some speeds even though it's just on a 2S battery because of these hefty EMAX motors. So yeah, that's it. It's just a very quick thing. There's no on-screen display, there's no buzzer, there's no beeper. It's lacking a few components I would have liked to see. No LEDs on here either, so it is, but it's quite stock, yeah, it's pretty basic, but obviously the components on here are what is going to make it good. So we're going to have a go flying this, see how it performs, see what the camera quality is like, the battery time, and yeah, just see how this works. So let's go check it out. Okay, so here's some flight footage, and you can see the camera quality is lacking a little bit. I would have liked it a little bit more crisp, maybe a little bit sharper and a bit more definition in there, but it's kind of what's to be expected from a camera of this quality. Anyway, the flying on this is actually quite good. This thing's quite zippy, it's very responsive with the pins that I'm using, and yeah, I think it's quite good. I doubled the rates though, because out of the box they were quite low. And yeah, it flies quite well. However, there is sort of a serious bit of a lack of punch out. You can see me here, this is me full throttle, and it's just not really responding the way I'd like. I think that's in part due to the size of the battery I'm using. I think it's probably a bit too heavy for the quad, so that's weighing it down. So I'd suggest probably sticking to about 300 milliamp hours on this, which is what they recommend on it anyway. So probably a bit of an issue there, but it feels like even with a 300 it would probably not be as amazing as I would have liked with these EMAX motors on here. But I guess it's more sort of aimed at an indoors quad as opposed to sort of a 4S brushless racer micro such as the XJB80. This thing's perfect for flying around the house. And here's a quick test of the 200 milliwatt video transmission range. It's okay, it's not too bad. It's going through some brick walls here, so I can understand why there would be some interference. If you're in a park, I'd imagine you could get a good 100 or 200 meters out of this. Anyway, that was just a very quick review of this. Definitely good for an indoor quad. I would probably suggest something a little bit more expensive, spending a little bit more money if you want to have an absolute bash about outside, because this is fun for indoors, but it's a bit restrained for outdoors, I'd probably say. So go ahead, get something like the XJB80 or maybe the King Kong 90 GT or the R-Fun or something like that if you want to be outside. Anyway, thanks for sticking around, guys. I'll see you next time. Peace out.